Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Card Strategy Show, episode 34. Paul, Hickey, and Kendall McKee here from nooffseason.com, Sports Card Content Network. Kendall Lefty McKee is also representing Wild Cards, Box Breaks, and JustBaseball.com. He is our main man bringing us soccer and baseball expertise. He's also the host of the Soccer Card Strategy Show and the Baseball Card Strategy Show. And here on The Big Show, as they used to call SportsCenter on ESPN, the Sports Card Strategy Show, Kendall talks about all of the sports with me. And Kendall, how you doing today, my man?
I talk all the sports with you, especially Jason Tatum. Let's go.
Let's go. We've got a big rundown agenda on today's show, and let's jump into the NBA Finals preview. Since you mentioned Jason Tatum, the man made it all the way to the finals. And as you know, I hate the Celtics because I'm a Pistons and a Magic Johnson fan. So I am now vehemently rooting for the Golden State Warriors and my man Draymond Green. Steph Curry remains number one on our sports card investment report at nooffseason.com. Save 20% by using the promo code nooffseason, all lowercase. But I'm excited in general as a fan about the NBA Finals because I get to root super hard for the Golden State Warriors now. But again, I don't know about I think if you're holding any of the Celtics, now is an amazing time to sell. I think if you're holding any of the Warriors except for Steph, now is an amazing time to sell. I think I would look at my Steph cards and I would determine what I have. And if I have some, I'll call them lower end graded Steph cards, then I would probably look to sell those as well. I'd probably keep my bigger stuff. And I think I have a guess as to why you're laughing, but why don't you give me your take on this?
I'm really excited for the finals. Honestly, I was not excited to watch another Heat Warriors finals. I was like, please, no, I just can't do it again, especially without LeBron. I was just like, I can't do it. And obviously over the past couple weeks, you've kind of gotten a take of that I love LeBron, and from a fan's perspective, I have no ties to the Cavs, no ties to the Heat, no ties to the Lakers, but I'm just a fan of what LeBron does, and so anyway, that's besides I just had to bring up LeBron again. I just had to find a way to get him back in here. But, as much as I think that the Warriors will win this finals, honestly, I don't think it's going to be close. I think they're just going to blow them away, which I'm not really excited about that either, because the only thing I am excited about is they're doing it without Kevin Durant, because I freaking hate Kevin Durant. But I'm gonna root for the Celtics in this series, and we'll root against each other, for our audience. I like
fun.
Tatum,
right.
And I think Jaylen Brown he's probably my favorite Celtic.
Sell Jaylen Brown right now. Everyone who holds Jaylen Brown right now, you should sell Jaylen Brown right now. I think
you should sell anybody in the series except for Curry right now.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Or maybe you want to hold on if you were lucky enough to pull a Jonathan Kuminga, a big Jonathan Kuminga card or something like that. He might be a guy that I would consider holding, but yeah, I would sell Wiggins, Clay. I would sell Jordan Poole right now. I know that might seem a little bit crazy, but I think he's a sell. I think you'll be able to buy him back in. You'll be able to buy
several
back
times over the next years.
Yeah, for sure. So
let me ask you a question.
I think we're aligned on that. Yeah.
Do you think this is the peak of Andrew Wiggins' value?
I do. I think Andrew Wiggins is a sell. I think he's had a career year. He made the All-Star team. He was voted in by the fans as a starter, and he's had an amazing playoff run. And I don't see him being a key part of their team in the long term. I think Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, I think guys like wings like that come in and just take over Wiggins' spot. I think if you have to find a spot for Jordan Poole in the starting lineup, I think Wiggins actually might be the most logical guy to take out of the starting lineup. I mean,
Yeah, I'd agree.
I'm not saying that he's going to be totally out of the picture in Golden State. I just don't think he's going to be key to their rotation as he has been this year. And so now or if the Warriors or when the Warriors beat the Celtics in the NBA Finals would definitely be the time to sell Wiggins. I think maybe not today being the peak, but this series for sure, him having a peak, I think it's a good time to list his cards. And we'll talk more about selling cards later in the episode. But that's my take on Wiggins.
Yeah, I always was really disappointed. I expected really high things from Wiggins coming out of Kansas. Loved his profile, especially, when he went to the Timberwolves. I was like, man, this guy's going to carry this franchise. And then when they got Cat, I was like, this is really going to turn this franchise around. And he just never materialized. It just seemed like he was, from an observer, I said multiple times, like on podcasts and things, I was like, this guy just seems like he's not willing to put in the work. It seems like he's playing off talent rather than, getting in the gym every day. And he goes to Golden State, and I'm like, well, that's okay. He's just going to be a role player there. And he's probably had the best year of his career. And definitely playing like an Andrew Wiggins we thought we would see. But in regards to my answer to that question too, is I think this is the best Andrew Wiggins is going to get. Like, yes, his play time is in question, especially with Jordan Poole. Like, I would rather personally have Poole in that lineup and move Wiggins to that Andre Iguodala role that they've so famously done for so long. And maybe that's where he sits. Maybe he just becomes sixth man of the year, and I'm okay with that. But I think if Wiggins does decide to leave Golden State, like I'm not 100% sure what his contract situation looks like, but if he does leave, I don't think it's getting any better for Wiggins. I think, like, say he goes to somewhere like, I don't know why this team just popped up in my head, but say he goes to the Pacers and he's like, a guy with Indiana. I don't think it's getting any better. I think he's going to return back to Timberwolves, Andrew Wiggins, where he's going to have that in crazy athletic plays, but just nothing, So I did want to ask you one other NBA question that I did not prepare you for. You ready for this?
Let's go. Of course.
You're big on this guy, and I want to know why over the last 7 days, he's up 231% on Sports Card Investor. Bones Highland's 2021's Crown Royal Crystal card is skyrocketing right now. I know you like some Bones Highland, so do you know why that card is going out of the roof?
Well, first of all, I do love Bones. He's a guy that reminds me of someone who could be like a Tyrese Maxey, where he comes out of the end of the first round and takes on a big role for his team, maybe moves into the starting lineup in his second year next year. And with Jokic, and if MPJ and Jamal Murray come back, if Bones is good enough to be in the starting lineup even with Jamal Murray as a scorer, kind of like how Maxey stayed in the starting lineup even when they acquired Harden. I do see Bones as like a potential guy. And I talked with Gary from Hoops and Cards on the most recent episode of the Basketball Card Strategy Show right here on the Sports Card Content Network at nooffseason.com. But to answer your question about the 2021 Crown Royal Crystal on Sports Card Investor, I will say there's a couple things. I do love Sports Card Investor, and as you all know, we drop them a line in every single show here that we do on the network for marketmoversapp.com, and you can use the promo code NOOFFSEASON, and you can get your first month for $1. That really helps us out, so we would love it if you do that, and it is a great product. And I know that Card Ladder is also a great product, and I know that there's other data-driven apps out there where they aggregate the data on cards. But I will say that all of these apps have a bit of a flaw. And that's why, and I'm famous for plugging stuff within my answers, right? So I'm going to plug the Sports Card Investment Report at nooffseason.com. The reason why we created the Sports Card Investment Report was because we felt like we needed way more context than just data. So the Sports Card Investment Report, when you upgrade to the premium version, it gives you basically 90% context. What cards should you buy and why? What's the play with each guy? Is the opportunity to buy, sell, or hold right now? And we're constantly updating that. And we're giving you data. We're giving you data from multiple sources, not just eBay. We've started to incorporate the PWCC weekly auctions into our data. The flaw with these tools, and I'm looking at the Bones Highland that you're talking about right now. And the thing that I would urge these tools to incorporate would be some kind of human checkpoint to say, yes, this card has gone up 231% in the last 7 days, but it's really just 2 sales.
Yep.
And if you look at the sales before that, you have an $8 sale, a $10 sale, a $5 sale, then you have a $23 sale and a $22 sale. So yes, it's gone up. It's fact to say it's gone up 231%. But do you want a Bones Highland Crown Royale Crystal rookie card as like one of your top cards in the entire app?
Right.
No,
yeah.
You don't. So that's a flaw. And that's my answer to your question.
Good. I really was like a softball toss right there to explain how these tools don't necessarily always work out. And an even worse example is the Phil Simms card in number 2. Like it goes from a 99-cent card to a $10.50 card on one auction that was basically a card set up for grading, and it goes up to 1,523%. And Phil Simms quarterback card, you're never gonna want that. Or I mean, unless you're like a huge Phil Simms or Giants fan.
Dude, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because this has happened. When I first started sports card investing a couple years ago and I started finding all these apps, the biggest mistakes I made were because I didn't check myself. And so now I always check myself. It's like today when I saw this Phil Simms card that you're talking about, I was like, did Phil Simms die? Like yes, I started looking around
thing.
like
I did the same thing.
I'm like, what possibly could have happened in Phil Simms' life other than his death, unfortunately, that didn't happen. Thank God he's still alive. But yeah, it's just weird. It's weird to see this. So I'm really glad you brought this up because it's been on my mind too. And I think it's a topic of conversation because you got this. Here's the other thing I don't like, Kendall. I don't like, and we're crushing our partner right now. So I apologize to everyone at Sports Card Investor. But look at this. Look at this. This stupid Ja Morant Chronicles rookie has been their number 1 card for like 3 weeks. And so maybe it is legitimately up 97.5% in the last 30 days. But the other thing you got to do with these tools, guys, is you got to look at all the different cards. And you got to say, because the other flaw in these tools is that this aggregate number down here doesn't represent all grades. And it doesn't represent all grading companies. So this card might be up 97.5%, but in raw it's up. In SGC 9, there's only 1 sale. In SGC 9.5, it's not up that much. In SGC 10, it's down. In PSA, in PSA 9, it's down. So like you that's the other flaw in these tools is like, it's not really that card is up that much. It's that one version of that card is up. So I don't know how they do this. I mean, I do think it's a great tool, and I do think it's one of the better tools out there. I know a lot of people, like I said, love Card Ladder also, and that's great. But I think that all these tools have that flaw. And that's what I like about what we're doing.
Information without context you're never going to get the right thing.
Yep. And I mean, while we're on this topic, actually, like I was gonna save it till later in the show, but since you brought it up, I'm gonna just quickly run through what we've done updating the nooffseason.com player rankings. So just so everybody knows, we used to have a top 125. What we've decided to do is cut the top 125 down to the top 50 and really challenge ourselves to provide the best information possible about the top 50, because ultimately it comes down to you can't buy everyone and you can't own everyone and you can't be constantly selling you can't pay attention to everyone. Kendall and I want you to have a really well thought out strategic sports card investment portfolio. We talk about GOATs, heroes, and flyers. So we've also implemented a GOATs, heroes, and flyers category. So every single one of our player profiles either already is or will be assigned in the near future either a GOAT, a hero, or a flyer. And so this allows us to basically get really granular with you all and tell you that essentially what we want you to do is have a certain amount of GOATs, heroes, and flyers in your portfolio. And we want to help you find the next flyer that's going to become a hero and the next hero that's going to become a GOAT. And so we're going to start consistently talking within that vernacular, writing within that vernacular within this report. And so as a member of nooffseason.com Premium, you're going to be able to follow things consistently. Another thing that we've done, and this is all based on user feedback and member feedback, is clearly identify the opportunity window that each player is in. So not everyone is always a buy. Not everyone is always a sell. Not always is everyone a hold. Sometimes people are buys and holds. Sometimes people are holds only. Sometimes people are sell and hold. And so what we're doing right now is we're going through and updating every single player profile to denote what is the current opportunity for each player. And then we're adding that into the play section. So while Connor McDavid has moved up into our top 10, for example, he might not necessarily be a buy right now. And while Steph Curry is our number one player,
by the way.
Yeah. And I'm always happy to talk more about him and elaborate on him because I think he's an interesting one because the hockey market is kind of up and coming, right? And so, but I mean, like Steph, how do you get a Steph Curry card? Like, how do you get, and I know you want to talk a little bit about this later in the show, but like, how do you get a $100,000 Steph Curry card? Like, how can I, as someone who's trying to provide value to our members, go out and just say, here are the top 5 Steph Curry cards, and they're all like $200,000 cards. Like, I can't just do that. But what I can do within the play section is I can say, here are ways to potentially level up to get a higher end Steph Curry card. And then here's what you should maybe do with that. But oh, by the way, I'm not saying just go out and drop $25,000 on a Steph Curry card right now. Like, so within each player profile, that's what we're doing. And then just a couple other things. I did mention earlier that we're aggregating data from multiple sources. I think that's important because PWCC Marketplace has that available and MySlabs has that available. So we're incorporating sales data along with eBay from those other 2 spots right now. And then card focused. So we've gotten a lot of feedback around why are you ranking players and not cards? Well, really what we're doing is we're ranking players for free. And then when you upgrade, we're ranking the cards. So that's basically what we're doing. But what we're going to add, just to be very crystal clear to our members, when you're a premium member, we're going to add a monthly top 50 cards to buy in the upcoming month article, essentially. So that will basically become a card ranking. In addition, we're not taking anything away. We're keeping everything. We're just adding some things. So yeah, I'd like to give a special thanks to, well, one other thing, we've also added 83 more player profiles. So even though the top 125 has gone down to 50, you can still access everyone's player profile through the individual sport rankings. So if you go to basketball, yeah, we've expanded the sport by sport rankings. So even though there's only 50 on the homepage or 50 on the top 50
and you want to go get a number 1 Gary V card.
Yeah, celebrity rankings. You got to go get. We got celebrity cards. We got every single sport, including wrestling, WWE. So what we're doing is we're
Wrestling.
expanding individual sport rankings so that the profiles will still be there. We've added 83 more player profiles. So really, we've got over 225 player profiles now that we're working on publishing all of them. Definitely excited about the sports card investment report at nooffseason.com. That'll be enough promotion. I'm sure I might get roasted in some of the comments for just continuously talking about our premium product on the podcast. So help me move past that, Kendall.
Well, let me not move past it just for a second. I think our top 10, for me, the top 10 is incredible. With one outlier, I'm not versed on Formula One enough to think that Max Verstappen is supposed to be in the top 10. That's probably just me not knowing enough about Formula One. I know Lewis Hamilton, and I know he's the GOAT. But I will say, like, our top 10, you just can't miss in there. Like, if you are able to get a high-quality card of these top 10 guys, honestly, yeah. So, I mean, just like Mike Trout, GOAT. Tiger Woods, GOAT. Tom Brady, GOAT. Lewis Hamilton, GOAT. Giannis is nearly there. You've got Ronaldo, who's still playing, probably has 3 or 4 years left, and is GOAT. And I do love how you have him 27 spots above Messi. I think that's pretty awesome, personally.
Okay. Okay.
I've always been a big Ronaldo fan, and Messi's just not playing well in Paris. But anyway, I'm a fan of the top 10, and I'm a big mover on this. I think if you get down into the lower end, I know we're going to talk to him about him later, but 48 and 49, Vinicius and Julio, guys.
Yeah.
These two guys right here are incredible. Vinicius is about to have a massive contract with Real. Julio is all that's been advertised and maybe more. And so anyway.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I've never felt better about the top 50, and I've never felt better about the overall product offering. I think it just keeps getting better and better. And I think that, my confidence level in moving Ronaldo up was due to just his marketability factor over Messi. I think he cares about his legacy. I'm not so sure Messi really cares about where he ranks. I mean, he strikes me as, of course, he cares about soccer, about football, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he cares about his impact on culture and his legacy. And I think Ronaldo is just far more marketable and just going to be, I think he's going to be relevant. And so I've also monitored card sales pretty closely. And I see Ronaldo just being a guy that it was silly to have him in the 50s. I think I needed to move him up into the top 10. And so I'm glad you like that one. Check out the F1 Card Strategy Show on the Sports Card Strategy Show feed with Greg Longto and I, because basically weekly we're talking F1, and we've got a really good I'll just be honest, like, we're trying to be the F1 card podcast because there's other really good podcasts that talk about F1, but they talk about a bunch of other stuff too. And so, like, I think with Greg, he and I are just trying to be like an hour a week, like the F1 card podcast. And so Max, we talked about Max on a previous episode, and he's a guy that just, I know you're not as familiar with F1, Kendall. So what I liken him to is kind of like, imagine if Luka won the NBA championship last year. That's kind of Max. So I think if Luka already had a championship, I think we'd all be like, oh shit, he's GOAT level already, because we've all been talking about Luka as like potentially the GOAT anyway, but he doesn't have any real hardware yet. And Max like won the championship last year over Lewis, and he's like in first place again this year, and he's like dominant.
When is the season over?
And the season doesn't end, I don't believe, until October, November, maybe even December. I know it's like Q4 sometime, I think is when it ends. And then I think they take maybe 6 weeks off and then they start again. So it's pretty short off season. And F1 cards have cooled off just a little bit, but they're still selling like crazy. And Max has some really, when you pit Max's big stuff up against the other guys in the top 10 and their really big stuff, Max is still like actually pretty, achievable or affordable, for lack of a better term there. So I think he's that's why he's number 7. And yeah, it's interesting. Another guy actually, while we're here, and I wanted to talk about him today. So this will segue us into our next topics pretty well. I want to just quickly get your take on Vlad, because it seems to me that he's our first hero. Like everyone in the top 10 is a GOAT, and I can define that, why I've made that distinction. But Vlad is a hero, but he's a hero that really has GOAT potential. He's only 23, but he seems to have had a putrid May. So talk to us about, and what I noticed is that maybe there's a window to buy Vlad right now because of his bad May, and because he's got to get hot at some point. I think he was literally just out of the lineup yesterday because of a sore left wrist. Maybe that's a reason why he's had a bad May, or maybe that's just a byproduct of something more recent. But tell us what's going on with Vlad in your opinion, and what do we do? Is he a buy, or is he just like are his prices still high because it's the season, and is there a better buying window?
I'm not sure that there ever will be a great Vladimir Guerrero Jr. buy window. At this point, he's going to be good for a long, long, long time, and you're going to have to pay for it if you're going to want to get in. Like it kind of reminds me of like to get a full share of like Tesla or something, you're going to have to pay full share value of Tesla, but you want to have a full share of something like that if you're wanting to see your portfolio rise. And I think that's the same thing here. Like you're going to pay a premium for Junior, or skinny Vlad is what I call him. That's like my little nickname for him. But in 2022, if you look at his advanced statistics, he's still 27% above league average. Like with his putrid May, like what you were talking about, the guy is still 27% higher than the average player. So if he is dog water, for where he's been over the past month, and he's still that good comparatively, that is a very, very good sign that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be a GOAT. I think this guy has the ability to be better than his father, who was a Hall of Famer, or who is a Hall of Famer. Like when you're talking about being better than Hall of Famers, you're talking about like from our definition of it, that's GOAT status. Like when you compare their two seasons together, or their two careers so far together, Vladdy Jr.'s actually got better numbers than Vladdy Sr. Now, Vladdy Sr. played on very great teams, which I think will be like something that Vladdy Jr. will have to work through. Like the Toronto Blue Jays they're good and they're young, but they're not great. And I think that will be something that he'll have to work through. Like, how does his career play out? Does he stay out of trouble? Does he stay healthy? Does he stay on teams that are competitive? Like we've seen that with Mike Trout's value been able to fluctuate over the last 2 years because of his team is not competitive or wasn't competitive. He got hurt, like all this stuff. You've seen some Mike Trout going like this a little bit. With Vladdy, I think I've said this before, and we've talked about this before. The way he plays has sustainability, which I think is perfect. So if I'm going to invest in a single player over the next 15 years, if I'm going to put $1,000 down on one player over the next 15 years that's going to be active for the next 15 years, I think that's the key. I'm taking Vladdy because he's unstoppable almost. And the more seasoned he gets, the better hitter he's going to be, the smarter player he's going to be, like the more situational he's going to be. He's beyond his years. He reminds me of like a more athletic or like probably a better Prince Fielder, and Prince Fielder was pretty dang good. So I see like Prince Fielder, Miguel Cabrera and his dad like fused into one player, and that's Vlad Jr. And that's some pretty high cotton right there.
That's pretty freaking good.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. You and I are we've been talking a lot and we've been doing a lot of shows together because I literally was gonna finish your sentence and say Prince Fielder. Not even kidding. So that's pretty funny. We did not.
I've never made that comparison on a podcast ever. And like, that's funny.
I think it's because Prince Fielder was just such a natural hitter. It was almost like he didn't really need to do anything and he could just step up to the plate and get a hit. And he could hit with power. And it was almost like he didn't – like I don't know that this to be true, but just from observing him, like it just kind of seemed like he didn't really care or have to care.
Yeah.
It was just like, baseball is easy to me. I'm going to get a hit. And so I feel like maybe Vlad Jr. has that kind of mindset. And
that's exactly kind of what I
That's why I was thinking Prince Fielder.
Like he stands up there and you can tell immediately as soon as he gets in the box, the pitcher is at a disadvantage instantly, and so it's just the guy has an 11.5% walk rate on the year. Like that's incredible. Like because his strikeout percentage on a massive power hitter is just under 17%. Like the average that you want to be under or close, like if you're over 30%, that's like, oh, you're striking out a lot. He is half of that, and he's having a bad season per se. And his ISO is 195. Like the guy is just so good. The part that could be bad for him is I don't know how much of his body is made to look like Vladdy Jr. or if some of that's maybe bad nutrition. Like sometimes guys are just thick and they like are working out, they're eating great, like all that kind of stuff, and they're just thick. But then sometimes it's just like they're thick because of like, for instance, we're probably going to segue into this guy, Zion. Same way. Is he thick because he's thick, or is he thick because he is like not taking care of his body? And I don't know Vladdy enough to know that. But if I'm just looking at him, like I'm like, okay, the one worry is like, does he gain a weight over his career and ends up looking like Albert Pujols and can't move, or is he going to just be like Cabrera, who is a bigger guy too, but was super skinny when he was younger, but he still can move really. Like I was watching Cabrera the other day. Actually, I was watching Nelson Cruz this weekend at the Nationals game. Nelson Cruz is 150 years old, and I hate him as a player because he killed my franchise. But he lost the Rangers the World Series, in case you didn't get that. But Nelson Cruz still moves really well for a big guy and for an old guy. And so I think if Vladdy can like age that way, like age towards movement and health and everything, this dude is going to be unstoppable. And I can't wait to watch him potentially decide whether he's going to step into Toronto and making Toronto like the team on his back type thing, or if he makes the move to like LA, like Dodgers or something like that, and just decides to just destroy with a team. I think that's going to be a big part of his legacy. So
interesting. Well, I think either way, either one of those two potential scenarios, something like that, means good things for his card value. He seems to be a guy that deserves to be right there near our top 10, if not in our top. He's kind of been in, like he hasn't gone lower than like 11th or 12th all year, all calendar year. And I think it's good to know that we're both kind of aligned
right where he's at.
Okay. So he's a good guy to potentially get in on then. And Kendall and I are both aligned on that. And so there's like three different potential segues out of Vlad, but let's take the Zion one because this is something that I wanted to talk with Kendall about on the show. And I want to get the listener audience take feedback in the comments in the Facebook group, everywhere you want to bombard me with the Zion talk. I have been proud of myself. I haven't really talked about Zion that much until now. I think a lot of he's an easy low-hanging fruit target to go, oh, you could buy Zion low, blah, blah, blah. But I think we all needed to see some official word that he was cleared to play. And we also needed some kind of reputable news to tell us that what his future might look like in New Orleans. And so I wanted to talk about Zion on today's show, not to be clickbaity or anything, but to legitimately have a conversation about where I think Zion is right now. And so I'm going to lead off. I'm going to go first. And I'm going to just go out and say that I have a really, really, really good feeling about Zion Williamson moving into the future. And the reason why, there's a couple different reasons why. One is because we saw some legitimate, reputable news over the last few days that he's been cleared and he will be ready to play this upcoming season, 2022-23 season. That's a big deal. And we did not have that. We had the exact opposite of that. And so things, even though his surgery came late in the offseason and it was unexpected, and there were reports as to like maybe he could come back by training camp, maybe he could come back by the regular season opener, and then it was like we don't know, he's out. When you, in hindsight, look at that timeline, there's nothing shady about it. It's just that's sports. The dude got injured, he played through it, and he wasn't going to have surgery. And then he did, and it was late. And surgery takes a long time to recover from. And everybody's different. And so was it a serious injury? Absolutely. Is it a serious concern that he had this injury? Absolutely. Has he now moved past the injury for all intents and purposes? Yes. Now, the other factor is his team. So back when I could have talked a lot about Zion during the NBA season, and I could have moved him up the sports card investment report considerably because his prices were so low. What we didn't know was how good are the Pelicans going to be? Where is he going to play? Is he going to is he going to like hold out and demand a trade somewhere, which is never good. It's never, like, name me a scenario where that's ever worked out for the player's performance in any sport, a holdout. It's just never does. And so, especially a guy like in his third or fourth year, early on in his career, if you're a veteran, if you're Aaron Rodgers, doesn't matter. But when you're Zion, it matters. So now the fact that he's basically come out and said, and believe him or not.
Look at what it did to Le'Veon Bell's career.
That's a great example. Le'Veon Bell had no reason to do that, and he basically he was the top running back in the NFL, and he has done nothing since that. And so that's exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, the Pelicans were amazing without him. They had a bunch of other players step up. They've got Herb Jones. They've got CJ McCollum. They've got Brandon Ingram. They've got Jonas Valanciunas. They've got Jose Alvarado. They've got all of a sudden all of these guys. They don't even need Zion. Now the tables have turned. Zion's like, oh shit, I want to play with these guys for Willie Green. We can win it all. And I think they can. And so now I'm thinking, not only is where maybe a couple months ago I was like, well, there's going to be this window where Zion's going to come back and he's going to average 30 points a game for a week, and then you need to sell him. Now I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen. And if he stays healthy, he could be in the NBA Finals next year. So now is Zion a buy? Kendall, feel free to absolutely shoot me down on this and give me some Zion hate, but that's my take on Zion right now.
I am staying a million miles away from this guy. Every sign that I can see for the foreseeable past is that I'm not impressed. Like, I will say I was super impressed with the what is that? Ball is Life. I think that was the original one, the original Facebook, like, Instagram-y stuff that, like, they were just posting kids just dunking on other kids when they're in like 8th grade. I think that was the first time I saw a Zion performance, and I was like, this guy's awesome. Looks like mini LeBron. And then like when he got older, I was like, this guy is awesome, but he's just going to be Blake Griffin light. Like that's where I see the trajectory of Zion's career. I think in a couple of years, he's going to end up being the like fifth edition on a team that's trying to make the playoffs. I don't think he like people were like, oh, he's going to be LeBron. And I'm like, no, he's going to be Blake Griffin. You know, like he's just going to be like this guy that tries to just bully his way to the basket. And although he does have a better jumper than Blake, I'll give him that. I think everything else surrounding his career, his health, his composure is pretty good. I'll give him that. Like, you know, like he handles himself well. I will say that. But I think like the media surrounding him, this Pelicans, like his family doesn't want to play with him. Grow up, dude. Like go. This is your job. You know, I don't want to be the guy that's like the bootstrapper person, but like you were drafted by the Pelicans. You didn't want to go there originally. You know, like there was in the very beginning, there was like, hey, Zion's going to the Pelicans. Maybe that's not where he wants to go. It doesn't like suit up. You now have the best team that possible that you could have. Get out there, and if you do want to make a career for yourself that's outside of just getting hurt and being a role player and maybe being Andrew Wiggins, you know, like what we talked about earlier, then you're going to have to prove yourself now. You don't get a pass like you did previously. You now have to prove yourself that you can, 1, stay healthy, 2, make a jump shot, 3, not just bully yourself to the basket. Guys are going to know how to play you now. And I like LeBron has spent millions of dollars in terms of preparing his body in a way that is going to prepare him to be elite. I don't think Zion does that. And I'm not talking about his dietary stuff and like how he's eating a million McDoubles and he's never seen a beignet he doesn't like. That's like kind of fat shaming, and I'm not really into that. What I am saying is like it broke down to even, I read an article one time about how LeBron had a guy come in and tell him how to fall correctly, like how to basically like protect your body on all avenues. And I don't think that a lot of players are thinking about this. I think this is like the main downfall of the brow.
Anthony Davis.
Like Anthony Davis, the main downfall is like he's just there to play and he doesn't think he has to do anything else. Like, and I think that's what you're seeing in his career is great, but he hasn't taken care of himself to make himself that long-lasting player. And I think Zion has to learn that. And I hope he's learned that in this last 6, 7, 8 months. I hope he's learned this is going to take more than my talent. This is going to take more than me being stronger, faster, bigger than everyone else. I think this is it. If we see Zion come out as a different player, then I will be proven wrong. But until then, I'm not willing to put money behind him. And then honestly, at that point, it might be too late. So I'm going to take my losses. I'd rather invest in LaMelo, Ja, all those guys, you know, in terms of that age level. That I would put my money in Jordan Poole right now. If you were like, you have $1,000, you have to spend it right now on Jordan Poole or Zion, even though the price differentials, I'm still putting it on Jordan Poole.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, so I will say that I think that our conversation right here is probably the sample size that ultimately represents the entire sports card market, where it's probably 50-50. It's probably 50% of people going, this is an amazing opportunity. I'm going to get in kind of on the sly here with some Zion stuff. Actually, the bigger part is that there's probably a ridiculous amount of people holding huge or at least semi-massive Zion stuff or Zion stuff that's truly important to their portfolio, their personal finances. And so they're waiting for this to happen so that they can sell Zion. For them, I hope that it actually happens. For people that want to buy Zion, I hope that it happens too, in the positive light that he comes out and he does do what Kendall's talking about, the greats have all done that. They've all taken everything seriously. You hear, if you watch The Last Dance, you know that Michael Jordan during the Space Jam shootings was facilitating his own practices against the best players in the world. You know that if you watch They Call Me Magic, that Irvin was doing the same thing with Isaiah in the offseason and facilitating his practices in Michigan in the offseason. And I mean, all the greats do it. Great examples of LeBron. There's no reason why a guy like Zion can't do this. It just, is he going to do it? Is he, Giannis is also starting to become famous for his workouts and his ability to stay healthy. And so, knock on wood, he stays healthy. But so, in conclusion on Zion, I think that there's people that are holding him that I think they're going to be in good shape. I really do. I think that people who buy him now are also going to have multiple windows to sell him at a profit. This is not me saying that he's a guaranteed GOAT, but I do think he goes from flyer right now to hero next year, to people feeling a lot better about him in general, just based on my intuition and what I'm seeing. And that might not be worth anything to any of you in the audience, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. When it comes down to it, am I personally going to buy more Zion? No, I'm going to put my money into Giannis. Giannis,
Yeah,
the way that I'm building my portfolio is I'm going from a basketball standpoint. I'm going Giannis on the GOAT side and Cameron Thomas of the Nets on the Flyer side, and probably not much in between. I'm not into heroes. That could actually be a good discussion for another day, why I'm not into heroes. We won't get into that too much today because we've got too much to talk about. But yeah, so that's my take on the Zion Williamson situation. I think it now is a great time to talk about it, because if you believe in him, then now is definitely a good time to buy, I think. So. Yeah, let's talk about the Champions League Final, where Real Madrid beat Liverpool. And I want to talk about it we can talk about multiple topics, but the main topic that I want to hit on is, and this graphic here, if you're watching, is gonna make a lot of sense from our segue. Actually, it's from Slab Stocks. Little slip there. It's from Slab Stocks, and I really love those guys' daily Slab newsletter. I don't know where they got this data. I got all excited and then I did my own research. But I want to talk about Vini Jr. You mentioned him. You mentioned him earlier in the show. I am proud of myself because I like to admit when I'm wrong. I also like to brag when I'm right. And so I was right about Vini Jr. because back in really December, January, when we officially launched the Sports Card Investment Report, he was in the top 10. And the reason why he was in the top 10 is because I sort of saw this trajectory coming. Did I think he was going to score the game-winning goal in the Champions League final? Not necessarily. But did I think that he could be a sleeper candidate for the Ballon d'Or? Yes, I did. I thought he was going to be a sleeper candidate based on some intel that I had from some people here in Spain. Nothing fancy. I'm just kind of exaggerating there. But no, I really do. I really do like Vini Jr. Yeah, my neighbor and my son who watch a lot of soccer. Anyway, yeah. But he did actually make a big improvement this year and kind of came through on a lot of the hype that he hadn't lived up to until this year. And so I do think that he deserves to be in our top 50. Like Kendall mentioned, he's in our top 50, and he's currently sits at 48, I think.
Criminal.
Yeah, 48.
Criminal.
And what I wanted to talk about today is and we also talked about his teammate Karim Benzema a couple episodes ago, and I wanted to just with Kendall take a look at some data. Did this Champions League final really move the needle? And long story short, it didn't. There have been no sales since the final. The most recent sales were on the 28th, which was the day of the final. So it was before Real Madrid won. It was before Vini Jr. scored the goal. So now my question is Vini Jr. is he not even more of a buy because like cards like his he has a flurry of a plethora of 2018 Don Russ rated rookie from that set. Now he was a rookie before that, but the Panini Don Russ rated rookie is that recognizable brand to Americans. And so, on the 28th, this press proof raw went for $75, but that was before he scored the goal. This kaboom that, as much as I love slab stocks, I think they got this wrong, because I don't see a kaboom sale after the goal. I see a kaboom sale before the goal. I see kaboom sales here before the goal. So unless they got this from, maybe they got it from PWCC or MySlabs or something. So they could be correct on this. But in terms of eBay sales, there have been none since the goal. So I still see Vini Jr. as a guy that has a lot of markers coming up with the World Cup and a great career ahead of him. Now he's kind of got that Giannis, that title, that big title under his belt, and he's still super young. So what's your take on Vini Jr. and his cards, Kendall?
I am blown away about how his cards are not just everywhere. Like if you see, according to our great sport card investor marketplace, he's the number 456th ranked card right now, or his Donruss 18 optic is just the base card. Technically over the last 7 days, it is up 63%.
Yeah,
but I think
right here, yeah.
When you are when you're looking at Vinny and you're saying, okay, take him and Mbappe and Haaland and Jude Bellingham, Brendan Aronson, Pulisic, those kind of guys. They're all under 24. Who shakes out to be the best? And I think Vinny probably shapes out to be a massive goal scorer. But I think when you look at the past soccer card, I don't know if I talk about metas a lot because I'm in the NFT and blockchain and that kind of space a lot during the week. And so the meta's evolving a lot. I think in soccer, especially in terms of investable materials, our meta for the last 15, 20 years has been a number 10 that is incredible. You think of the Messi profile, or you think of the Ronaldo profile, like a midfielder that does it all. No matter what, he scores goals, he can play back, he can box to box. Those are the guys that everybody's just who's going to be the next that guy? Which is why Mbappe just got incredible amounts of hype in early on, which is why Neymar had incredible amounts of hype, and has had incredible amounts of hype. But there are players like Vinny or Benzema. Benzema is you could say he's great, but he doesn't get the same hype because he's a number 9, because he scores goals. And it's that's great, but does he do anything else? And I think Vinny fits that same profile. What's different, though, is I think he's 21. He's going to play for Brazil. He's going to score a ton of goals in the World Cup. I think he starts over or with Richarlison. That is a big debate right now. It's who is going to play the number 9 for Brazil in this World Cup? I think it's going to end up being Vinny, especially after this weekend. He's a big part of my soccer show this weekend, and Vinny is. And so there's part of me that's going all in on Vinny right now, because I think the meta, what I was talking about in terms of the meta, I think that is going to change over the next 5 to 10 years. I think in terms of market cycles of the way that sports have moved, you've seen the NFL, the NBA, MLB, all have moved from the meta from 10 to 15 years ago to a new style of play. You've seen the three-pointer become an unreal possibility. When you see a 3-on-1 in the NBA, a 3 is being taken a Steph Curry style rather than taking it to the hoop and getting an old school 2-and-1. With the NFL, you're seeing that West Coast offense, that spread offense that used to only be for college football, really start to dominate the NFL. I'm talking strategic levels here. like in terms of how the game is played. You're seeing how MLB used to be small ball. You're seeing how hitters are pull happy in the swing. When we're talking about how shifts are aligned and how baseball is pitched completely differently now. You're seeing power pitchers over finesse pitchers, and how everybody wants to throw 99 now because it's the meta has changed. And when you're looking at soccer, I think we are due for a new meta change. And I think the 9 being the focus of a publicity unit could be that next change. I see that could be a very big change going forward, about how it's all about 9s rather than 10s and 7s. And if you're from, what I mean by that is there's positional numbers in soccer. 10 is being a central attacking mid, a 7 would be an outside winger. That's typically where we've seen most investable material in terms of how cards boom over the last 5 to 10 years. Specifically the Ronaldo Messi profile there, and even guys like Mohamed Salah fit into that old style of like people just want to invest there. When I think about the next level, I think about maybe potentially those goal scorers being more profiled as the next level. And this guy is 21 years old. So not only is he scoring goals in the Champions League final, not only is he going to be on one of the best teams in the World Cup and potentially fight for another Brazilian championship, this guy could be the striker for Brazil for the next 15 years. And he's going to have almost every record if he stays healthy at that point. And so is Vini an investable material? Yes, because his prices have not skyrocketed yet, and I think they will.
I'm totally with you 100% on that. Great call.
Sorry, I had to break that down by a lot of levels before I could make it finally, come.
I love it. Peak. I think it's important for everybody to know all of those details, because we're talking about more than just what we see on TV here. We need to know kind of a little bit of the history behind the game. At least I do. And I think a lot of newcomers into the soccer card market definitely do. So another guy that a lot of people may have never heard of, Karim Benzema. We talked about him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Same thing with his cards. No movement, no real sales. And so, I checked not only Sports Card Investor, but also eBay sold listings, and really nothing after the Champions League win. And, similar to Vini, Benzema's on a very competitive World Cup team, France, and has some markers ahead of him as well. And a lot of people already kind of consider him a low-key GOAT. So, there's and really, unless I'm missing something, there's no reason why these guys won't come back on Real Madrid next year and do it again together, right? I mean, they're both still locked in.
Vinny's about to sign a mega deal with Real, and I think that Karim paved the way for Vinny. Vinny will stand on Karim's shoulders at the end of this, and I would love, 15 years from now when he's got his Hall of Fame speech or whatever, I hope he says, Karim allowed me to be the player I am today, because he is going to follow in his footsteps and going to get exponentially more publicity than Karim did. But I hope he realizes that this number 9 has paved the way for the next number 9.
Yeah. I think what's cool about this is that, both of these guys, we thought maybe there'd be a spike in Benzema cards. We projected a couple weeks ago, okay, the Champions League finals coming up in Paris against Liverpool. We even said, is now the time to buy Karim, because maybe there'll be a spike if Real Madrid wins. And just because it's interesting because there's no sales. So that leads me to believe that it's not that we missed the spike. It's that there could still be not only a spike coming, but maybe actually more of a sustainable price increase plateau coming for both of these guys. It could be that, I'm hypothesizing here, but spikes aren't always the greatest thing. Spikes just mean that there were a few big sales the day or two after a big performance. But what we could be seeing is people holding these guys, knowing that there could be a more sustainable price increase coming, and maybe a spike and then a plateau after the spike. I'm sure there's a fancy investor word for that somewhere that I just don't know, on a graph somewhere. But anyway, no real sales, so not a dip either. What's your take on the possibility of like Kareem still being someone that could see that price increase? We know your take on Vini, but what do you think about Benzema?
I really thought Benzema was going to end up getting a goal in this last in the Champions League final, and I thought that would just like kind of cement like this is it, like not that he's done, but I thought like that would be his peak, and I don't think he doesn't get enough respect on the French national team. It seems like they're always trying to figure out someone other than Kareem to be on the team, and so I don't think they're going to run him out there every game in terms of the World Cup. I think the World Cup, that French team is all about the midfield. They're trying to really pump bags of Mbappe and Pogba and all that. And I think this is kind of the final World Cup run of that team really being cohesive together. Similar to that Belgian team, this is kind of their final run together of the team that we've seen over the last 5 to 8 years. And so I think if Kareem had scored that goal instead of Vini, that would have been the swan song for Kareem, and I think, although that's not the end of his career, I think that would have been the swan song. I can see him very easily following it in Higuain's footsteps and coming over to the MLS and kind of riding it out and just, I don't think he's there yet. I'm not saying he's done and retired and, MLS time, whatever. I'm just saying like, that's going to be that's going to be Benzema's future, I think. Once he decides to leave Real Madrid, and very soon I think that he will be playing behind Vini. And so although it didn't work out like I wanted it to, I think Kareem, you should probably sell Kareem right now, is what I'm saying.
Sounds like it. Unless you're, and this is another total hypothesis on my part, but my guess is that maybe the guys who own Kareem, the guys and gals who own Kareem, like they might just be collectors, and they might just be going like they're just keeping him. They're keeping him forever because he's more that kind of guy from that era before soccer cards investing was actually a thing, and so this is rather new. Vini fits more the profile of like, okay, he's only 21. You need to get on him now. His cards are going to go up. Solid investment. Kareem's more of like, if you're an investor and you want money, you should probably sell him. Or you're just, the people who have his cards are just going to keep him. So,
like I'm looking at this, I'm looking at this legit picture. Kareem literally tweeted this on May 27th. He said, "See you tomorrow." And it's him with his arm around Vini. Like they're literally in their training kits together. And he's got his arm around Vini. And I'm like, yes, you're 34, right off into the summer window, transfer window, and go make a bag somewhere like China or MLS or something, and let Vini just take the number 9 of Real Madrid and just be the guy in Madrid. Vini's going to be the guy in La Liga. He's going to be that. And La Liga needs it. They need something and someone to stand up and be like, this is my league, and I'm going to take this for the next forever. And I think Vini's going to do that. I think he's going to sign a massive deal this summer with Real Madrid. He's going to be there. He's going to be the guy. He's on he's on Brazil's national team, who has the most World Cups. So it's like he's the guy. He's not the guy I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be Mbappe. And then before that, I thought it was going to be, I thought we were going to see Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi and Neymar just ride off into the summer in La Liga, but I'm okay with it being Vini. and I'm saying it right here. Vini is going to be the guy for La Liga for the next forever.
Buy Vini. I agree. You should buy Vini. I think he's going to be the guy. I also personally think, and I know we disagree. We disagree on Pedri. I also think Pedri is going to be maybe tied for the guy. And then I'm still holding out hope that his teammate Ansu Fati at least has a nice run, or maybe he's not the guy, but maybe he's at least performing and he's healthy and he's on the field. And then, but I think like even though La Liga didn't get the transfers that we all kind of thought they needed, I think now is like the changing of the guard. Hopefully, guys like Pedri, Gavi, and Fati and Dest, and I'm naming all the Barca players, but of course Vini, and there's a lot of other guys in La Liga from other teams that can maybe take the torch and run with it. But hey, Kendall, I want to segue over to Bundesliga, I believe, and just kind of give my only two purchases from the last week since we did our last show were recommendations of yours. So everybody, the reason why I have Kendall as my co-host is because I believe in him. It was that guy, and it was these two cards. It was this out of 150 blue refractor auto, rookie auto from the Topps Chrome for $75. And for those of you not watching, it's Malik Tillman of the U.S. men's national team and Bayern Munich. And then this out of 50 gold auto for 150.
That's a nice that's a nice buy. I think.
This is a Merlin. This is a Topps Merlin. So I went with Malik Tillman. I got a couple bigger ones. I thought that since I did price check you, and it seemed like there was a jump from like on his basic refractor auto, there was a jump from something around 50 to 80, and so I figured, well, if I might need to go up a level, but still get kind of a deal on the upper level. So that's kind of what my play was to get maybe just pay a little bit more before there was a jump on the bigger stuff. So I thought $75 for the auto 150 Topps Chrome auto, and then $150 for the auto 50 Merlin Topps Merlin auto, were both seemed like the best I could get after last week's show. So that's what I did.
Yeah, I think that, for instance, that out of the Merlin auto that you got right there, I bought the base Merlin auto, which I showed on the camera a second ago. So I got this at a PWCC, or not a PWCC, a ComC auction, which I always like to potentially, if I'm on the front end of some media swing and I think that there's going to be a large media swing, for instance, the Malik Tillman, I try to go check ComC because they're a little just a fragment slower to adjust to price swing. So that's kind of like a play of mine that I use, a strategy that I use is if there's a large media swing, if something's happening very quickly, I'm going to go over to ComC and try to get a deal on something that I can do a buy it now on something that's potentially lower than where some of the auctions are right now. And so it doesn't always work, but I've made a couple of nice plays that way. For instance, this Malik Tillman that I bought it for $45. And it's just the base auto. And I got it yesterday in the mail. I'm going to immediately list it today on eBay because I think Wednesday when the national team plays, this is the international break for June. Wednesday when they play against Morocco, which I will be there. And yes, I will have some sports card content that is going to come out of it, and it's going to be a United States men's national team episode. And you cannot, not you Paul, but you the listener cannot be in my bags because I am a U.S. men's national team fanboy and I'm going to the game and I'm going to be excited about it. But anyway, so I think with Malik Tillman, if he starts against Morocco on Wednesday, or even gets in the game, I think his cards are going to go up. Therefore, I'm listing this bad boy today on a 6-day auction or 7-day auction, and this international break, I'm expecting this to go at least $30 higher than where I bought it. So with your, like, for instance, you bought that out of 50 Chrome Merlin for 150, you said, right?
Yep.
So there is literally the same card on auction right now for 151.38 with 11 and a half hours left. So that's
phenomenal.
It's already higher than where you bought it for, and it's got 11 hours left. And it's $15.
Well, I need to go ahead and,
because it's shipping from Canada. So like if there was a non-$15 shipping version, that would probably be higher than 151. So what my play is list your Malik Tillmans, your lower level Malik Tillmans this week, make a little bit of coin on that quick flip, and kind of rest in the fact that he's probably going to be a striker for the United States men's national team that they've been looking for. Berhalter, I don't think was confident in Pepe. You've seen that come out a lot. I have been a Pepe, like anti-Pepe dude for a long time. And I just think, yeah, he's young, like whatever, blah, blah. Yeah, he's young. And I think we overhyped him, and he's going to be the same thing that Maurice Adu had back in the day, where he came out when he was 14 and everybody's like, this guy's the next, whatever. And he amounted to something not what we thought he was going to be. I think that's what we're going to see with Pepe. I'm not super in on him. I do like Ferreira, by the way, different FC Dallas guy, striker, United States men's national team. But Berhalter went out and got this guy from Germany. Like, there is some strategic recruiting in the national team. If you have a guy that's a dual national, he's going to go play in Germany's national team, and you can convince him to be on the USA team. I would imagine that there is a lot of behind the doors talk about Berhalter saying, you're my guy if you come to US. You're the guy. You are the number 9 if you come to the US. And that, I'm sure that's what convinced him to say, I'm going to take off this Germany kit. I'm going to take that off for the rest of my life and put on the U.S. men's national team kit, because I'm going to be the number 9 on the youngest team at the World Cup, and I'm going to thrive there. And I think that's what we're going to see with Malik Tillman.
Interesting. Well, now I'm torn as to whether or not I should list. Maybe I'll list one of the two.
That's what I was going to say. List one of them. List one of them.
Okay. List one, keep one. All right. I like that strategy. So along those lines, like, let's segue over into selling sports cards, because we've got 2 segments left, and one of them is going to be the gauntlet, and I'm going to tease this. I'm going to try something new, everyone, so don't get frustrated with me. I just like to test things. YouTube has given me the ability to have some premium content. And so what I'm going to do is, if you're familiar with the gauntlet segment, we're going to make you pay for the premium this time around.
We're going to make you
to see that. We're going to make you, if you want to see Kendall run the gauntlet. Now, this gauntlet is the purpose of this gauntlet. And Kendall's going to give you this disclaimer about how this is not advice. This is just a suggestion. That's fair. It's not advice, whatever. But the purpose of today's gauntlet is that I want him to pick, ultimately, a $200,000 card that he thinks is most likely to make it to $1 million card at some point. So if you want to know that, you're going to have to go to youtube.com/Paul Hickey and do something on the video to pay YouTube or me some amount of money. I have no idea what it's going to be. We're just testing this. And if you're listening on Anchor, if you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I apologize. You are not going to get that either. You are going to have to go to youtube.com/Paul Hickey and pay for it as well. But let's go to our last free segment of the day. And that is, we want to talk a little bit about some of the Facebook messages we've got in the Facebook group. The best way to get there is just go to sportscardstrategy.com and click on the quick link to join the Facebook group, and we'll let you in, and we will absolutely help you out as part of that group, where Kendall and I are constantly in there replying to everything. And we got a couple questions this week that we wanted to address. One of them from Troy Herman. Troy just kind of asked generally about selling sports cards. Basically, like, what are some selling tips? Where, when, where meaning like which selling platform, when meaning like sort of timing the market to try to maximize profits, and any other tips. So I'm gonna let Kendall kind of lead this one off. I know there's kind of a lot that he wants to say, and then I'm gonna chime in with some of my knowledge that I've acquired over the last. I mean, I've only really been selling cards online for about the last year. So I don't have as much knowledge as a lot of you out there, but I'll chime in as to what I've learned as well. I mean, I have one specific question, and it was related to like when to sell soccer cards. But I think Troy's question is more along the lines of like tips, strategic tips to maximize your profit throughout the year. And I think, I mean, in general, it's like there's general things like timing the market, things like that. So maybe you can use soccer as an example of timing the market, but maybe give us more like specific answers as to like what you do when you want to try to profit off of a card. Like, when do you start the process of thinking through when you're going to sell the card, and then how do you end up selling the card? Like, if you want to maximize your top cards and your profit on your top cards that you've invested in, what's your methodology for that?
Well, so what I end up usually doing is if I have bought a card that I know I'm going to resell, for instance, this Malik Tillman card, this is what I'm going to do with it today. I'm going to find the highest selling version of that card in eBay sold listings, which real quickly, you would just type that in. You would type the card in. You would go to the sold on the tab, and you would pull up. Now, then you would list, or what I do is I list or filter to go in the highest sold value, and then I go down because typically there's like a bunch in there that aren't the exact card I'm talking about. I go find the exact card I'm talking about, the highest sold. I click on that. I scroll down right underneath the picture somewhere, depending on if you're on the mobile or on desktop. There will be a situation that says sell one like this. What I do is I click that, and it immediately makes a eBay profile for the exact, like it makes an eBay sale listing for the exact wording that was used on the one that was sold for the highest sold. So I know that SEO is a big part of this. I know all that kind of stuff. I also know that I don't have the knowledge and the wherewithal to know exactly what that algorithm looks like. So I'm just going to take the fact that the one that sold for the highest probably had the most views on it. That's kind of an ignorant way to look at it, I know, but that's how I do it. And I take that and I make a new post. You have to obviously take pictures of your card. That's the one thing that doesn't transfer over. And then I usually edit the listing, to basically be exactly my card. But it gives a good framework to start from, and it gives you a lot of the boxes that you don't need to work through that are already checked off. And then I list it for like way higher than I'm expecting it to sell. And typically I don't do auctions unless it's I know that there's going to be a big week ahead. Typically I do buy it nows, and then I put or best offer. And you're going to get a bunch of offers that come in, and you're going to get stuff that's going to be like, for instance, I got a $5 offer on my O'Neal Cruz auto the other day. I'm not selling this O'Neal Cruz auto for $5. So you're going to have to filter through some of that stuff. And there are some like filter minimum offers and stuff like that. I just leave it open because I'm smart enough to know where I'm going to say yes and where I'm going to say no. And I'm patient enough to know that I'm going to say no to some things. But that's how I do my eBay sales. I also sell on Twitter a good amount as well. And that is maybe a longer form podcast is going to be like different selling avenues. But there are different selling avenues that are out there these days. You can do the COMC stuff. You can do eBay listings. You can do Twitter. eBay does take a substantial fee out of it, but most cards, you're getting the most eyeballs on your card. So if you're wanting to make the most money per sale, I would say an in-person one-on-one deal at a card show is probably going to get you the least amount of fees, the least amount of riffraff, like it's going to be the easiest. But I also will say that people in person are not going to pay eBay comps because they're going to say, okay, I'm not paying for taxes and fees and shipping or anything like that. So they're going to come $10, $15 below the comp value anyway. So either way, you're going to be losing some percentage of your funds. So what I do is I bake that into the purchase price so that you take your margin of your tax and that's part of the game. Any financial avenue out there, you're going to have margins that are going to be sucked off from somebody else. That's capitalism. That's an economic system that we live in. And you can bitch and complain about it all day, but the fact of the matter is that's the system we play in. And so if you're going to play by the rules, then just know that going in. And quit being like, I see this all the time on Twitter and Facebook where people are crying about FeeBay and all this stuff. Guys, how else in the 21st century would you get your card in front of thousands of other people just in terms of a Google? Like, you can complain all you want, then take all your cards off of eBay and go to the local card show where 5 people are walking by your booth. It's just like, this is the stupidest argument, I think. If you're going to argue about if you're going to whine about a technology that's here to help you and is giving you the access to thousands of eyeballs around the world, I'm willing to pay a $3 tax for that, and so bake that into your price if you want. Or for me, honestly, I'm like, I don't care if they want $5 for offering this incredible service to me. And yeah, eBay has its faults, but there is no other option right now. So either you're going to do the hard work by getting your Twitter account up there and following the right people and engaging with the algorithm there and having a high enough quality followers list that you can move cards easily, or you can just put your card on eBay and when someone searches Vini Jr., it's going to pop up. If you're not willing to just really get in there and do it, then eBay's your best option. And I know who was it that brought this up on the Facebook group? What was his name? Troy Herman. So Troy, I know that there's a great question and a lot of people ask it, and I'm not coming down on you specifically. I'm coming down on just the grannies that whine about it on all these Facebook groups that I'm in. And it's like they're making, they're selling $20,000 worth of cards a month. It's like, okay, I mean, you're making great profits, so just shut up, that's greed at that point. And so that is my favorite way to sell, and probably the quickest way to move things is to get your eBay profile going. It's going to take a little bit because at the beginning, you're not going to have any reviews. You're not going to have any sales. So you might have to sell things for cheaper in the beginning so that you can kind of build your profile up. There is that aspect of it as well. You're not going to, if for instance, if I see an O'Neal Cruz auto, mint condition, exactly what I want, and there's one for $250 here and one for $250 here. This guy has 1,500 sales and 5-star review, and this guy has 0 sales. I'm going to be like, I'm going to go with this guy, because there's just more proof of purchase there. So what you would probably have to do is lower this one down to 200 or something, and I would be willing to take the risk there, not knowing any sort of workaround with you. So you're going to have to take some licks early on to build up a portfolio, but after a year or so of selling singles, you're going to be right where you want to be. And honestly, selling $1.50 singles, especially if you're in that lower to mid tier, it doesn't really matter what your profile looks like. But if you get into those high tier sales, people are going to be looking at the way you use grammar and all this stuff. People are just wild out there. But anyway, so I think that answers for the most part how I sell and what to expect when using eBay. And I said this on our eBay, on our Facebook forum. If you just go in with the expectation that is what you're going to come out with, you're going to be a lot happier when your card sells and you're making $25 when you didn't do literally anything other than pack it up in a bubble mailer and send it. Now, Another thing that you need to do is I would Google how to package a card if you've never sold or bought a card. That's going to be very big for your reviews. Like if you like put it in a top loader like this and just put it in the bubble mailer and send it, you're going to get hated on. And so like what you need to do is get penny sleeves, put it in a penny sleeve, which is like this little thin thing right here, and put it in a penny sleeve and then put it in a top loader, and then use what I use is I use painter's tape, the blue painter's tape, put it over the top loader so the card doesn't come out during shipping. Then I take 2 pieces of cardboard that I've cut off from all my Amazon packages. I just cut like little 2x3 squares out, and I have a bazillion of them. I just put one on one side, one on the other, put masking tape around it. So that way, if anything like hits it, there's not going to be a ding on the card. And then I wrap it in like one layer of bubble wrap, which some people do, some people don't. I wrap it in one layer of bubble wrap, masking tape that, and then put it in the bubble mailer and send it. And I have nothing but 5-star reviews. I've never gotten a bad review. But one time I bought a $700 out of 5 Julio Rodriguez card, and the guy sent it in a bubble mailer in a penny sleeve. That is it. No top loader, no cardboard, just in a penny sleeve. A $700 card. I ripped him on eBay reviews. Luckily, it was fine. And, you know, like none of the corners were dinged or anything. I didn't get it graded anyway, just because I was a little nervous. But I ended up selling it for some profit because, of course, like you guys know, like my baseball stuff is like I'm dealing in prospecting. So I got into Julio way before he became the top 5 prospect in baseball. But, dude, I've been on my high horse a lot today in terms of like just going on some rants. So I'm sorry. I know I can see like
you're fired up today. You're fired up.
I drank this Celsius. I don't know if you've ever had one of these, but it's like a no sugars energy drink, and I am on one today. So
love it. Well, no, I think that was great. And I'll just add that I started as an eBay seller about a year ago, and my thought was I'm going to sell all of my lowest graded cards first. There were a lot of cards I had graded, and then there were some like I had multiples of the same card. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to sell the lowest grades first for whatever I can get for them, because that will be sort of the sales that you're talking about. And so that helped me at least build up a profile. And then somebody around that time on a Facebook group said, hey, if you buy stuff, that's true, you're a good buyer. Those ratings actually count. So that's another thing. Now a couple of things I'll add though, because I've been disappointed, but I've also been very pleased with my eBay sales. And my process is, I'm going to take Kendall's advice actually on the sell one like this, because that's also a time saver. But when I really just want to get out of the card, I basically just list it as like a 7 or 10 day auction. And I don't even overthink when I'm listing it or anything like that. But I do make sure there's good photos, and I do make sure that it's a good looking listing, because I'm kind of listing it to get out of the card, to get some money for it, and to get a good review. So those things are still important. So I'm kind of playing the long game, and I'm not really worried about my profit. Now, but most of the time I do obviously want to maximize my profit, and we want you guys to all maximize your profit. So myslabs.com basically lets you sign up as long as you have a good eBay profile with high ratings. So what I've started to do is, if I don't just want to get out of the card, I'll list it with the buy it now, like Kendall talked about on eBay, but I'll also list it on MySlabs. And because MySlabs defaults, like the default user when they're logged in is by most recently posted card. Now, the user can change that. And then on eBay, that's not the case. Like on eBay, you have to have like Kendall mentioned, good SEO and all that. But if a MySlabs buyer is logged in and they haven't adjusted their search settings, then they will see at the top the most recently listed cards. So my strategy is, if I don't just want to immediately sell something, I'll do buy it now on eBay, and I'll put the same card for buy it now on my slabs. And if it's a good enough card, I will start to get offers on my slabs. And typically my offers on my slabs are way better than my offers on eBay. And so I have sold unexpectedly quite a few cards on my slabs. Now I've only sold really about 1/10 of the amount of revenue. So I'm really selling more on eBay than I am on my slabs, but it is nice to have the strategy of I can do both. And so I have also on occasion sold a card where I've listed it in an auction on eBay and at the same time listed for a buy it now on my slabs. And even though there might have been watchers on eBay, I'll get a legit offer on my slabs. I'll accept it, yank it down off eBay so that I don't piss people off there.
Have you ever
So
had
I
the
am
situation where it sells for both?
selling on both. Thankfully, no. And I'm actually like really scared of that kind of situation because I just don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want anyone to get a bad review. I don't want anyone to give me a bad review. And I can't stand like just the stress of somebody sending me a bad message. I hate it. It like ruins my family time. And I'm just like, there's no amount of like $100 here, $50 there is worth ruining a family dinner or something like that, where now I'm stressed that somebody's mad at me and I feel like I have to reply and all that. So, but anyway, I think that, we do want you to profit, and I'll just I'll close with Troy and everyone else out there. Like, we're all still figuring this out too. There's people like Kendall and a lot of other people that can answer your question with more experience. I feel pretty good about how I'm selling. I do think it's important to be patient and list your cards at a time when you think there's going to be more interest in possibly media coverage for some reason around the particular player. And not to get out of the question, but I actually think the most important thing when selling the card is to own the right cards. Like you have to own the cards that people are going to want to buy. And so like, it's easier to buy than it is to sell. It's way harder to sell. But I think the number one way to become a really like successful profit-making seller is to actually be able to pick the right card. And so that's why I've spent most of my time creating content around how to pick the right card. Like, I'll tell you right now, just a quick hack is like, if you find yourself at all looking to buy like a Prism base rookie card, I would just look at the Prism Silver. Because there's just way more interest in a Prism Silver. If you're ever looking at like buying a non-rookie PSA 10 or even a rookie PSA 10 base, I'll tell you right now, look at a raw auto because there's way more interest in an auto. And then if you can afford a serial numbered auto, there's way more interest. And so there's all these, I think, buying tips that actually go into the end game, which is selling and profiting. And so I wanted to take this question on the show because I think we put a lot of great stuff in the Facebook group, but there's just a few more things I wanted to add on the show. So real quick, before we head out, Sam Cox in the Facebook group asked, would you send in a numbered to 5 sticker auto card? So the auto's on a sticker, but it's a card for grading, or do you think it's a rarity and will already carry the value? I think I know what he's asking there. The raw value is around $150 and it's a Bowman University card. My answer to this would be, look up what the PSA 10 value is and look up what the SGC 10 value is. And if there's a 3X of that 150, then I think it's worth getting graded, especially I know you got to cross-reference like what's the PSA 9 and the SGC 9.5 going for. If the PSA 9 and the SGC 9.5 gives you some profit margin and it's a newer card that you just pulled out of the pack, then I would say, yeah, it's probably worth grading just to try to maximize the profit. There's probably limited downside if that's the case. But I'll say this, if the PSA 9 or the SGC 9.5 is selling for what the raw sells for consistently, I would probably just sell it raw and be happy with pulling something out of a pack that's worth $150. What do you think, Kendall?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, if there are sold listings that are coming out around that, even 8, honestly. Now when I first was in the got really back into the hobby in 2020, PSA 8s were known as the same value as raw. Like they were saying, if you get an 8 or lower, or if you get an 8 or lower, you've lost money typically on the grading system. And the 9s would be about a 10% increase, and the 10s would be about 10 between 5 and 10x from the base. That's changed. Now 9s are necessarily really close to raw value. And I think that's just because of the grading going through a lot of changes that we've seen over the last 2 years. So if you look at the card and you have the equipment to have a microscope, and you have the centering equipment, like a little centering frame, these are really easy things to go find on places like I think they have them on Sports Card Investor. Actually, I think that's where I got mine originally. Is in their shop. They have some links to a lit magnifying glass and some centering equipment that they recommend you use if you're going to be sending cards in, because it gives you a rough estimate of if your card is centered or not, which is a big deal, and it's not always like key to the eye. You kind of have to get granular with it. And look for pock marks in terms of your surface. If you don't have print lines, pock marks, if it's centered well and you think your corners are sharp, then I would say send it in. If you're okay with it coming back as a 9. Now, in today's world, we're costing about $60 to $100 to grade a card, at PSA at least. And so know that you're going to have to margin that into it as well. But if you can sell an out of 150 Bowman U card, and it's not a quarterback for money, then I think you don't grade that. Don't grade it. Sell it raw, and it's going to be an incredible value to you that you pulled a great card out of a blaster or a hobby, and you got some incredible value off of a Bowman U product that really hasn't hyped like I thought it would. But if it is a Kenny Pickett or something like that, or out of 150, then I would grade it, especially if it looks good.
I agree. I was going to say, depends on the player as well, especially like applying this to across all sets. In this particular set, I think CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are also in it, and they each are eligible to be, I think, the top 1 or 2 overall picks, projected overall picks in the 2023 NFL draft. So if it's Pickett or either of those 2 guys, I'd probably get it graded regardless, just to try to up the value and sell during a hype cycle. But sounds like it's maybe not, Sam, but thanks for the question, and good stuff. So everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. Kendall, McKee, and Paul Hickey. We are with nooffseason.com. Kendall's also with Wild Cards, Box Breaks, and Just Baseball. Would love it if you guys check out the Sports Card Investment Report at nooffseason.com. Thanks as always for watching and listening. And we are going to continue this show over on youtube.com/Paul Hickey in some sort of premium monetization fashion. So if you want today's gauntlet, if you want the gauntlet from episode 34 of the Sports Card Strategy Show, I apologize, we're not going to give it to you for free. We're going to try to squeeze you for some extra money and be greedy here, and have you go over to youtube.com/Paul Hickey. Actually, we don't really care about the money so much as we want to kind of try out this new monetization thing over on YouTube and see if it works well. But everybody, seriously though, have a great day, and thanks so much for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. We hope you come back next week to listen. Thanks again.
Yeah.